The night was calm. Over the city, the stars shone brightly, scattered across the black sky. People walked home, cars moved slowly, and everything felt ordinary. But then, something unusual appeared. At first, it looked like a bright star. A single glowing dot, much larger than the others, blinking strangely. A young man standing on his balcony noticed it and frowned. "That's not normal," he whispered to himself. Others began to notice too. A woman carrying her groceries stopped in the street and stared. "Is that a plane?" she asked. Her child shook his head. "No, Mommy, it's moving too fast." The glowing dot slid across the sky in an unnatural way. It didn't move like a plane, and it didn't fall like a shooting star. Instead, it zigzagged, leaving behind a faint silver trail. Then, suddenly, 2 more lights appeared next to it. Now 3 lights glowed above the city, shifting in patterns no one could understand. Phones came out. People recorded videos. Voices filled the streets. Are they meteors? No, they're not falling. They're flying. A quiet tension spread. It wasn't only in the city. Across the world, from small villages to crowded capitals, people were looking up at the same strange lights. News channels started broadcasting live footage. Commentators spoke in nervous tones. "No official explanation has been given," one anchor said. "But these lights have been visible for hours. They're not satellites, not drones, and not natural phenomena." In a control room deep underground, a group of military officers stared at huge screens showing the same lights. One officer, his face pale, whispered, "They're here again." A scientist in a lab coat turned sharply. "You mean the same as before?" "Yes," the officer said, lowering his voice. "But this time, they're closer." The scientist's hands trembled. He looked at the screen and whispered, "If they're closer, it means they're watching us." Back above ground, panic started to grow. The lights multiplied. What had been 3 became 5, then 7, moving like hunters circling prey. People in the streets pointed upward. Some shouted, some prayed, and some ran indoors, afraid of what might happen next. On the rooftop of an old apartment, a boy clutched his telescope. His sister sat beside him, shivering. "They don't look like planes," she said quietly. "They're not," the boy answered, adjusting his lens. His eyes widened. "They're ships." "Ships?" She gasped. "Yes, they're shaped like triangles. I can see the edges." His voice broke with fear. "They're not from here." Suddenly, the lights stopped moving. They froze in the sky, glowing brighter, forming a perfect circle above Earth. People everywhere held their breath. The silence was heavy, as if the world itself was waiting. Then one of the lights blinked 3 times slow, deliberate. Another responded with 2 flashes. A coded language no human could understand. The crowd in the streets murmured nervously, "What are they doing? Are they talking to each other? Or sending a message to us?" Moments later, the sky ripped open with a soundless flash. A thin beam of light stretched down from one of the glowing ships, striking the ocean far away. Satellites caught the moment instantly. The beam burned into the waves, splitting the sea surface with boiling steam. Reporters shouted over each other. "We're receiving confirmation something has struck the Atlantic Ocean. No explosions, but the water is glowing." People panicked. Some screamed, some dropped to their knees. In the underground control room, alarms wailed. Officers rushed between screens. "They're testing us," one shouted. "They're showing power," another added. But the commander raised a hand. His voice was calm but sharp. "No, they're not just testing, they're warning. Back." In the city, the young man on the balcony whispered, "Why here? Why now?" His phone buzzed with messages. Friends and strangers shared the same videos, the same fear. And then it happened again. Another ship sent a beam, this time into the desert. The sand glowed red like molten glass. The girl on the rooftop cried out, "They're attacking her." Brothers shook his head. "No, they're choosing places. Testing places." All around the world, 7 lights marked the planet with silent beams, each strike precise, controlled, deliberate. It wasn't destruction. It was mapping. In the lab, the scientist muttered under his breath, "They're making coordinates. Marking Earth." The commander's eyes darkened. "So the stories were true," he said quietly. "The warnings our ancestors left behind weren't myths." The scientist turned to him, shocked. "You knew?" "Not everything," the commander admitted, "but enough to prepare." The lights in the sky shifted again. For a brief second, they aligned in a formation that mirrored a star constellation. Observers noticed it. Astronomers screamed in disbelief. "They're copying Orion. Why Orion?" The boy with the telescope whispered, "They're pointing to something out there." Suddenly, one of the glowing ships broke formation. It moved fast, descending lower toward the clouds. The city below fell into chaos. Sirens screamed. People ran. Windows shook with a deep vibration. The young man on the balcony whispered in terror, "It's coming here." The ship hovered, massive and silent, its triangle form clear now. No sound of engines, only a low hum that made people's hearts pound. Lights flickered across its edges, scanning, searching. A voice broke through radios worldwide. Static first, then words in a language no human spoke. Strange, heavy, echoing tones. People clutched their ears. Translators and computers tried to decode it. Finally, one machine produced a rough translation. "The seed has grown. The Watchers return." Confusion spread. What did it mean? Was Earth the seed? Who were the Watchers? The commander's eyes hardened. He whispered, "They think we are still weak." The scientist looked at him. "What do you mean?" "They don't know," the commander said. His lips curled into a thin smile. "They don't know what we've built." But outside, the people didn't know about secret bases or hidden projects. All they saw was a ship so large it blocked the stars. The girl on the rooftop clutched her brother's arm. "What if they destroy us?" He whispered back, "Maybe we're not the ones who should be afraid." Above, the triangle ship pulsed with light. Then, without warning, it shot upward, vanishing into the stars with impossible speed. The others followed, disappearing one by one, leaving the sky empty again. Silence fell across Earth. People cried, shouted, or fell into stun. Quiet, but everyone knew this was not the end. It was the beginning. In the control room, the commander faced his team. "Tonight, humanity has been marked. They will come again." He turned toward the screen showing Earth's hidden weapon under construction. "But next time, we will be ready." The scientist stared at the glowing image of the unfinished ship and whispered, "Then the true dawn begins." Above the dark Earth, the stars shone as if nothing had happened. But humanity would never look at the night sky the same way again. The world was still shaken by the strange lights in the sky. People whispered about the giant ships, about the beams that touched the ocean and the desert. News channels replayed the footage over and over. Scientists argued on live television. Some said they were visitors. Others said they were enemies. No one had answers, but far below the surface, deep underground, answers already existed. Beneath a mountain range that no map mentioned, there was a hidden base. It did not appear on satellite images. It was carved so deep into the rock that even earthquakes could not touch it. Inside, 1,000 men and women worked in silence. Engineers, scientists, soldiers, each with one gold dot. In the heart of the base stood something enormous. A shape that filled an entire cavern. A machine that looked like no human invention. Its surface was black and silver, sharp lines glowing faintly as if it was alive. Workers in suits climbed its sides, welding, fixing, attaching panels. Sparks showered the floor like falling stars. A young engineer stood at the edge, staring. In awe, his hands trembled as he whispered to his colleague, "Do you ever think about what this really is?" His colleague glanced at him. "I think about it every night. And I try not to." They both looked at the giant structure. It was Earth's secret. The thing no one outside this base knew about. It was the Star Destroyer. A voice echoed through the hall. The commander had arrived. His boots hit the metal floor with authority as he stepped forward. He was an older man, his face carved by years of war. His eyes were sharp, carrying secrets only a few knew. He stopped in front of the machine, raising his voice. "For years, humanity has been treated as weak. For centuries, we looked at the stars with fear. But tonight, you saw the truth. They are watching us. They are testing us." The workers froze, listening. "And that," the commander continued, "is why we must finish this." He pointed at the machine towering above them. "This ship is not only a weapon, it is survival. Without it, we are nothing but prey. With it, we are predators." Murmurs spread among the workers. The young engineer swallowed hard. He wanted to believe the commander's words, but fear crawled in his chest. Later that night, in a smaller chamber of the base, a meeting took place. The commander, a scientist with silver hair, and two high-ranking officers sat around a glowing table. The scientist spoke first, his voice tense. "The signals we picked up from those ships, they were not random. They were coordinates. Coordinates to where?" One officer asked. The scientist's face darkened. "To us. They have marked Earth. They know exactly where we are." Silence filled the room. The commander leaned forward. "Then we have less time than we thought." The other officer shifted nervously. "Sir, even with round-the-clock work, the Star Destroyer is months away from completion. The weapon systems aren't tested. The shield core is unstable. If they attack now, the commander's voice cut sharp. "If they attack now, we fight with what we have." His eyes turned cold. "I will not see humanity bow down." The silver-haired scientist sighed. "You speak with pride, Commander. But pride will not keep us alive." The commander leaned closer, his voice low. "No, but this ship will." At that very moment, in a different part of the base, two guards patrolled the corridors. One of them frowned. "You ever wonder why we're building this thing underground?" The other guard shrugged. "Safer, I guess." The first guard lowered his voice. "Or maybe they don't want the people to know. Maybe they're hiding it from us too." Before the second guard could answer, the lights flickered. A low hum vibrated through the walls. Both guards froze. "Did you feel that?" The hum grew louder. Then suddenly, alarms blared across the base. Red lights flashed. A voice rang out over the intercom. "Warning. Unauthorized signal detected. Possible breach." Chaos erupted. Engineers dropped tools. Soldiers grabbed rifles. The commander stormed into the control room. "What's happening?" he demanded. A technician's fingers flew across the console. "Sir, something's hacking into our systems. It's not human code." Its static filled the room. Then, on the central screen, a symbol appeared. Glowing, alien, pulsing with strange energy. None of them had seen it before, yet it felt ancient. The silver-haired scientist gasped. "It's them. They've found us." The commander's face hardened. "Shut it down. Block the signal." "We're trying, sir," the technician shouted. Sparks flew from the console. "It's too strong." The alien symbol flashed brighter, and a voice filled the room. It was deep, layered, speaking in a tongue no human understood. But as before, the computers tried to translate. Words appeared across the screen. "Seed grown. Harvest begins." The workers stared in horror. The scientist whispered, "Harvest." They see us as crops. The commander slammed his fist against the table. No, we are not crops. We are the storm. He turned to his officers. Lock down the base. Double security. No one leaves, no one enters without my command. The young engineer from earlier stood frozen, his heart racing. He whispered to himself, "Harvest, storm, what are we becoming?" For hours, the base worked in frenzy. The alien signal vanished, but its warning lingered like poison in the air. By dawn, the workers returned to the cavern. The Star Destroyer stood silent, half complete, yet already terrifying in size. The young engineer placed a hand on its cold surface. He whispered, "Will you save us or destroy us?" Behind him, the scientist walked up, his eyes tired. "Do you know what this ship is really built from?" he asked softly. The young engineer shook his head. "No, I thought it was human technology." The scientist gave a sad smile. "Not fully. Half of it comes from wreckage we found years ago. Wreckage not from Earth. We have been building with their bones." The engineer's breath caught. He stepped back, staring up at the towering machine with new fear. The scientist's voice lowered. "If they return, and they see this, they will not see a weapon. They will see a stolen child." The commander's voice boomed from above, cutting through the tension. "Listen to me." He stood on a high platform, his figure sharp against the glowing lights. "They think they can harvest us. They think we are weak. But when this ship rises, the galaxy will learn the truth. Humanity does not bow. Humanity builds." His words echoed across the cavern. The workers cheered, though fear still trembled in their hearts. Far above the mountain, the world remained unaware of what was hidden below. To the people on the surface, the sky looked calm. But deep underground, Earth's first Star Destroyer grew, a sleeping beast waiting for the moment it would awaken. And in the silence of space, far beyond the reach of human eyes, something watched. The alien ships that had vanished were not gone. They lingered in the dark, patient, calculating. Their message had been sent. Their harvest was planned. But this time, Earth would not wait. This time, Earth was preparing. Far away from Earth, beyond the light of its sun, there was a council chamber carved from black stone. It floated on a massive station that orbited a dying star. Inside, alien leaders from across the galaxy had gathered. The air was heavy with silence, broken only by the faint hum of energy that powered the hall. Tall, strange figures filled the seats. Some had eyes that glowed like embers. Others had scales that shimmered in the light. A few breathed through, gills that opened and closed with wet sounds. Each of them belonged to a different species, but all of them had come together for one reason. Humans. At the center of the chamber, a hologram flickered to life. It showed Earth, spinning slowly, in the darkness of space. Around it, glowing dots marked the places where beams had struck: the ocean, the desert, the frozen north. The first to speak was a creature covered in dark feathers, its voice sharp and high. "They saw us. The humans saw our ships. That was not supposed to happen." A scaled figure hissed, its long tail twitching. "We tested their world. We marked it. Nothing more." But another, with eyes like molten gold, leaned forward. "You are blind if you think this is nothing. The humans build. They grow, too fast, faster than any seed we have ever planted." Murmurs spread around the chamber. The feathered leader snapped its wings. "They are only one species on a single world. We are many. They cannot match us." The golden-eyed alien turned sharply. "You forget history. When we first watched them, they were crawling in caves. Now they fly. They split the atom. They touch the stars. All this in a breath of time. Do you not see? They learn too quickly. If they are not stopped now, they will rise." The chamber grew tense. Some nodded. Others growled in disagreement. From the shadows, a tall, thin being with translucent skin spoke softly. Yet its voice silenced the room. The old warnings told us this day would come. The humans are not like the others we harvested. They are dangerous. The feathered leader scoffed. Dangerous? They have no fleets, no armies among the stars. They are trapped on their planet like animals in a cage. The translucent being raised a bony hand, and a new hologram appeared. It showed Earth's surface beneath the mountains. It showed something. Massive, half-complete, but unmistakable. The aliens gasped out. The scaled one hissed, "What is that?" The hologram rotated, revealing sharp edges, glowing cores, and weapons no primitive species should have. It is their creation, the translucent being whispered. They call it a star destroyer. Shock rippled through the chamber. The feathered one slammed its wings against the stone. Impossible. They cannot build such a thing. Not with their technology. The golden-eyed alien spoke again, its voice heavy. They are building it with ours. All eyes turned to it. The golden-eyed leader leaned forward. Years ago, one of our ships crashed on their world. We thought it lost. We left it buried. But they found it. They studied it. And now, they are using it. The room erupted with noise. Angry shouts, frightened whispers, furious hisses. The feathered leader screeched, "Then this is a crime. They are thieves. They will pay for this." The translucent being raised its hand again. "And how will you make them pay? Attack now, and the galaxy will see what we fear. Wait too long, and the humans will finish their weapon. Either way, balance is broken," the scaled creature growled. Perhaps it is already too late. Silence returned. Finally, a new voice spoke. It came from a massive figure sitting in the shadows, larger than all the others. Its body was covered in thick armor-like plates, its face hidden. When it spoke, the chamber trembled. "We must decide. Do we strike the humans now, before they finish their ship? Or do we watch and risk their rise?" The golden-eyed alien leaned forward. "Strike now, burn their world. Tear their cities from the ground. End this seed before it grows." But the translucent one shook its head slowly. "No, if we strike openly, the others will rise against us. The galaxy is watching. They whisper of our harvests. They doubt us already. A full war will reveal the truth. We must be silent." The feathered leader tilted its head. "Then what do you suggest?" The translucent being's eyes glowed faintly. "We do what we always do. We send shadows, agents, saboteurs. Let the humans destroy themselves before their ship is complete." The chamber murmured again, some in agreement, some in doubt. Meanwhile, in the deepest part of the station, a smaller chamber held 3 alien envoys. They spoke in whispers, away from the council. "They think they can control this," one said, its voice low and bitter. "But I have seen the humans. They are not like the others." "Yes," another agreed, its thin fingers twitching nervously. "They are reckless. They fight even when they should surrender. That is why they survived." The third envoy's eyes narrowed. "And that is why they are feared." They stood in silence for a moment. Then one of them whispered, "If they finish their star destroyer, the galaxy will no longer belong to us. It will belong to them." Back in the grand chamber, the armored giant stood once more. "Enough," it rumbled. "The council has spoken. The humans are a threat. We act in secret, no open war." "Not yet. But if their weapon rises, then we will burn their planet to ash." The decision was made. The aliens would move quietly, sending agents to Earth, hidden hands to sabotage the project. But even as they planned, fear lingered in their hearts. For the first time in ages, the harvesters were afraid of their crop. On the edge of the galaxy, one alien ship drifted in silence. Inside, a young officer spoke to his commander. "Do you truly fear them?" he asked softly. The commander looked at the stars. His voice was heavy. "I fear what they will become. The humans are not like us. They are not patient. They are not "Careful, they are fire, and fire spreads." The young officer shivered, staring at the distant star that was Earth's sun. "And if they finish their Star Destroyer?" he asked. The commander closed his eyes. "Then the galaxy will burn." The mountain trembled as engines roared deep underground. In the vast hidden cavern, Earth's greatest secret was finally awakening. The Star Destroyer stood completed. Its black and silver body stretched longer than a skyscraper, sharp edges glowing with blue light. Weapons lined its surface like claws. The ship was a monster of steel, a machine that looked alive. Workers who had spent years building it now stood in silence, their hearts pounding. The commander entered the hall, his boots echoing on the metal floor. His sharp eyes scanned the ship with pride. "It is ready," he said simply. The silver-haired scientist walked beside him, his voice quieter. "Ready, perhaps, but safe. That I cannot promise. The core is unstable. One mistake, and this thing could destroy us instead of saving us." The commander's lips tightened. "Then we test it, today." Gasps spread among the engineers. A young pilot, standing near the rail, felt his chest tighten. He whispered to his friend, "Did he just say today? We're not ready for this." But there was no time to argue. The test had already been planned in secret. A massive asteroid, drifting at the edge of Earth's orbit, had been chosen as the target. Hours later, the Star Destroyer rose from the hidden mountain base. The ground shook as giant doors opened, revealing the sky. People in nearby towns watched in shock as something massive lifted into the air, covered in smoke and fire. They did not understand what they were seeing, but their cameras recorded every second. The world, for the first time, saw Earth's secret weapon. In the control center, the commander spoke through the comms. "All systems online." Technicians called out one by one. "Engines stable. Shields at 50%. Weapons charging." The pilot sat inside the massive ship's command chair, his hands shaking as he gripped the controls. He had trained for years, but nothing compared to this moment. He whispered to himself, "This is not just a ship. This is Earth's future." The scientist's voice came over the speakers, tense. "Remember, the core is untested. Do not overcharge it. Fire in short bursts or you risk collapse." "Understood," the pilot answered. His eyes stared at the asteroid target, spinning slowly in the darkness of space. The commander's voice cut through. "Begin test. Fire primary cannon." The ship's weapon systems glowed. Energy surged, flowing into a massive cannon at the ship's front. Lights along the hull pulsed brighter and brighter until the ship itself looked like a star. The pilot pressed the trigger. A beam of pure energy exploded from the Star Destroyer, tearing through the black of space. It struck the asteroid dead center. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a silent flash, the asteroid shattered into dust. Cheers erupted across the control room. Engineers hugged each other. Soldiers clapped "Dot on Earth." Cameras captured the blast, and the footage spread instantly across the internet. The world gasped. Humanity had built a weapon that could turn mountains into dust, but inside the ship, the scientist frowned. His monitors flashed warnings. "Core overheating. Energy output unstable." The pilot's smile faded. "Commander, something's wrong. The ship is shaking." The whole vessel trembled as if alive, its lights flickering wildly. "Shut it down." The scientist shouted. "Now!" The pilot slammed his hand on the controls. The beam died, and silence returned. The ship drifted in space, glowing faintly. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the commander's voice came, calm but hard. "We succeeded. The weapon works." The scientist turned on him, furious. "It nearly killed us. One more second and the core would have collapsed." The commander did not flinch. But it didn't, and now the galaxy knows Earth is not weak. The pilot sat back in his chair, heart pounding. He whispered, "If this is only the beginning, what comes next?" Far away, the answer was already forming. In the alien council chamber, the test had been seen. Their hidden satellites had captured every second of the Star Destroyer's blast. The feathered leader screeched in rage. They destroyed an asteroid. No primitive world should wield that power. The golden-eyed alien's voice was cold. I warned you, they learned too fast. The translucent being's body flickered with unease. If they can already destroy asteroids, then fleets will be nothing to them once they perfect that weapon. The armored giant in the shadows leaned forward. Its voice was like thunder. Then we do not wait. Send agents. Sabotage the core. Break the ship before it rises again. The council murmured in fear and anger. None of them spoke of open war, not yet. But the decision was clear. The humans could not be allowed to keep their weapon. Back on Earth, news channels played the explosion again and again. Some called it the greatest achievement of mankind. Others whispered in fear, asking if Earth had just started a war it could not win. The young pilot returned to the underground base, exhausted. He removed his helmet and sat alone in the hangar, staring at the massive ship. He thought of the cheers, the pride, but also of the trembling core, the unstable energy. The scientist joined him, his face grim. Do you know what this ship really is? The pilot looked up, confused. It's our weapon, our shield. The scientist shook his head. No, it is a coin toss. Every time we fire it, we risk everything. If the core collapses, it won't just destroy the ship, it could tear the Earth's sky apart. The pilot froze. His mouth went dry. Then why are we doing this? The scientist's eyes darkened. Because the commander is right. We have no choice. If we do not build this, we will be harvested. If we do build it, we might destroy ourselves. The pilot whispered, so either way, we burn. Meanwhile, in a dark corner of the base, shadows moved. No one saw the figure slip inside the ship's maintenance bay. Its form was human, but its eyes glowed faintly with alien light. It moved silently, placing a small device against the Star Destroyer's hull. The device pulsed once, then vanished into the metal like a ghost. The saboteur whispered in a voice not entirely human, "The harvest begins." And then it was gone, leaving no trace. The Star Destroyer stood tall, a beast that had just tasted its own power. The people of Earth cheered, proud of their creation. But deep inside its body, hidden and silent, the alien device waited, like a seed ready to grow. No one knew yet that the true test of power was not destroying an asteroid. The true test would be surviving what came next. The underground base was silent in the early hours of the morning. The Star Destroyer rested like a sleeping beast, its black frame humming faintly with energy. Engineers worked on its systems, unaware that deep inside its core, something foreign was alive, something planted there by an intruder. The young pilot sat in the control room, staring at the screens. He had not slept since the test. His mind kept replaying the asteroid's destruction, the blinding light, and the trembling ship. The scientist entered, carrying a stack of reports. His face looked even older under the harsh lights. The commander. "Once another test soon," he said. The pilot frowned. "Already? We almost lost the ship last time." "I told him that," the scientist replied bitterly. "But he doesn't listen. To him, risk means nothing. He only sees power." The pilot lowered his voice. "What if we can't control it? What if the next time it tears the sky apart?" The scientist looked at him, and for once there was no anger, only sadness. "Then we all vanish. Earth, gone in seconds. That is the danger we live with." Before the pilot could respond, alarms blared across the base. Red lights flashed. Voices shouted from every direction. "Intrusion detected. Something is entering orbit. Unknown signatures approaching." The commander stormed into the room. "Report." A technician stammered. "Multiple objects, fast-moving. They just dropped out of hyperspace above the moon." The screens flickered. showing blurry images of sleek alien ships, black and silver. Their designs sharp and menacing. The pilot's blood ran cold. "They're here!" The commander's voice was iron. "Prepare defenses. Activate the Star Destroyer." The scientist stepped forward, furious. "Are you insane? The core is unstable. If you push it now..." But the commander cut him off. "Do you want us to sit and wait to die? We fight or we are nothing." The base roared with activity. Soldiers ran to their stations. Engineers rushed to load weapons. The hangar doors rumbled open as the Star Destroyer prepared to rise again. The pilot strapped into the command chair, sweat dripping from his forehead. His hands shook as he touched the controls. The scientist's voice came over the comms, urgent. "Listen to me. Do not fire at full power. If the core collapses, Earth itself will burn. Remember that." The pilot nodded, but his heart pounded too hard to answer. Above Earth, the alien fleet moved like shadows across the stars. Their leader, a golden-eyed alien, sat on the bridge of the largest vessel. His voice hissed like steel. "Begin. Destroy. Their defenses. Leave nothing standing." The first wave struck. Alien fighters screamed through the skies, their weapons raining fire across Earth's orbit. Satellites exploded like sparks. Space stations shattered. The night sky lit up as debris burned in the atmosphere. People across the world watched in terror, thinking meteors were falling. But these were no meteors. The Star Destroyer rose into the air, its engines blasting fire. The ground shook as it climbed higher and higher, breaking through the clouds. On Earth, people cheered when they saw it, believing their protector had come. The pilot gritted his teeth. Enemy ships ahead. Locking targets. The massive cannon began to glow, energy building inside. The scientist's voice broke through. "Careful. Do not overcharge it." The commander's voice thundered. "Fire!" The pilot pressed the trigger. A beam of white-hot energy erupted, cutting through the darkness of space. 3 alien fighters vanished instantly, their bodies reduced to dust. The explosion was blinding, even from Earth below. Cheers filled the control room. Direct hit. "They're retreating from that sector." But the scientist did not cheer. His monitors screamed with warnings. "The core is unstable. Shut it down before." The Star Destroyer shook violently. Lights flickered. Sparks flew from panels. The pilot shouted, "Systems failing." The scientist screamed, "Shut it down." The pilot slammed the controls, forcing the weapon offline. The ship drifted, smoke pouring from its sides. For a brief moment, silence. Then the commander's voice cut in, calm but dangerous. "We hurt them. That is all that matters." But the aliens were not finished. From the fleet, a larger ship moved forward, black as night, its surface covered in glowing red lines. Its weapons opened, sending a storm of energy blasts at the Star Destroyer. "Shields failing," a technician cried. "Starboard damage." Another yelled. The pilot fought the controls, spinning the ship to dodge incoming fire. Explosions lit up the sky. The scientist's voice was desperate. "We cannot win like this. The ship is not ready. We must retreat." The commander's answer was ice. "Retreat and Earth burns." "We hold." But deep inside the Star Destroyer, the alien sabotage device awoke. It pulsed with strange light, spreading into the ship's systems like poison. Suddenly, alarms screamed. "Core breach detected." The pilot's heart froze. "What? That's impossible." The scientist's face turned white. No, it's happening already." The core chamber glowed dangerously, light seeping from its cracks. If it exploded, the Star Destroyer and maybe Earth itself would be gone. The pilot shouted, "We have to shut it down." The commander's voice roared, "No, fire again. Destroy their flagship." The pilot hesitated, torn between orders and survival. The scientist screamed through the comms, "If you fire again, you kill us all." The alien flagship loomed closer. preparing its final strike. The golden-eyed alien's smile was cruel. Let them fire. They will destroy themselves. The pilot gripped the controls, sweat dripping into his eyes. His hands shook as he whispered, "What do I choose?" Silence fell for a moment, the battlefield frozen in tension. Then he made his choice. Instead of firing, he cut the main power and rerouted energy to the shields. The Star Destroyer went dark, almost lifeless, but the core's violent glow slowly faded. The scientist shouted in relief, "You saved it!" The commander roared in fury, "You disobeyed me!" But before he could say more, the alien flagship opened fire. A storm of energy beams rained down. The shields held for a moment, then cracked. Explosions tore across the Star Destroyer's hull. The pilot was thrown forward, alarms screaming all around him. He could barely hear the voices shouting in panic. "Engines failing! Hull breach on Deck 9! We're going down!" The massive ship, Earth's greatest hope, began to fall. Across the planet, millions watched in horror as the Star Destroyer, burning and broken, plunged back into the clouds. The pilot fought the controls with all his strength, trying to guide it away from cities. "Come on, hold together." The ship crashed into the ocean with a deafening roar, sending waves towering into the sky. Steam and smoke rose from the water. For a moment, silence. Then, from the shadows of space, the alien fleet regrouped. Their leader's voice was calm. "They are weaker than we thought. The harvest begins now." Back in the base, drenched and shaken survivors stared at the ocean where the Star Destroyer had fallen. Some wept, others prayed. The scientist looked at the pilot, who sat broken and exhausted. "You made the only choice that saved Earth for now." But the commander's glare was cold as ice. "You disobeyed orders. And because of you, we lost the battle," the pilot whispered. "No. We delayed the end. That's all we could do." High above, alien ships spread across Earth's orbit like vultures circling prey. The invasion had begun. The ocean was still boiling from the crash. Black smoke rose from the waves, covering the horizon like a storm. Pieces of the Star Destroyer floated on the surface, glowing red from the heat. The young pilot sat on the shore, soaked and trembling. His hands were cut and burned from the crash, but he barely felt the pain. He could only hear the screams of alarm still echoing in his head. The scientist came crawling from the wreckage, coughing seawater. His white coat was torn, his face pale. We survived," he whispered. The pilot turned to him, voice hollow. "But Earth didn't. Look up." Above the clouds, the alien fleet was spreading. Dozens of ships circled the planet like wolves around prey. Trails of fire rained down as their weapons targeted cities, power plants, and military bases. Explosions lit up the night sky. The scientist closed his eyes. It has begun. The invasion. Soldiers and engineers stumbled out of the wreckage, wet and broken, but alive. Some fell to their knees in despair. Others clutched weapons, shaking. The commander appeared last, his uniform ruined, his face dark with rage. "Stand up," he shouted. "This is not the end. This is the beginning of our fight," a soldier muttered. "We lost the ship. We lost everything. How can we fight them now?" The commander's eyes burned. "We fight with what we have left. If they want Earth, they will bleed for it." The pilot looked at him sharply. "And what about the core? If that weapon is rebuilt, it could kill us all." The commander sneered. "Without it, we are nothing but ants under their feet." "You want to live like that?" The scientist stepped forward. "No, we cannot trust the core. If it explodes, it will not only kill them, it will kill us too. We must find another way." The commander and scientist stared at each other, hatred burning between them. The pilot interrupted, voice low. "Arguing won't save us. We need a plan." Before anyone could answer, the ground shook. From the smoke above, alien dropships descended, black and sharp like knives. They landed on the beach, their doors opening with a hiss. Alien soldiers marched out tall, armored, with glowing eyes. Their weapons hummed with energy. The commander shouted, "Positions! Fight!" The soldiers raised their rifles. A storm of fire erupted. Explosions lit up the shore. Sand turned to glass from the heat. Men screamed and fell. The pilot grabbed the scientist, dragging him behind a piece of wreckage. "We can't stay here. Run!" the scientist gasped. "Where?" The pilot pointed to the forest beyond the beach. "Cover! Go!" They sprinted as blasts struck the sand around them. Smoke and fire chased their heels. Behind them, the commander stood like a madman, firing at the aliens with everything he had. His voice thundered over the chaos. For Earth. But he was only one man. The aliens closed in, their weapons tearing through the remaining soldiers. The pilot and scientist plunged into the forest, stumbling over roots, branches whipping their faces. Behind them, the battle was ending, the screams of humans fading, replaced by the cold silence of alien victory. They collapsed beneath a tree, gasping for air. The scientist's hands shook. They killed them all. The pilot looked back through the trees, his jaw tight. "No, some may have escaped, and if they didn't, then it's up to us." The scientist looked at him, voice trembling. "Us? 2 men against an empire?" The pilot's eyes were sharp, filled with something new fire. "Not 2, all of us. Every human who refuses to bow. That's how we fight back." For a moment, silence. Only the forest whispered. Then the scientist nodded slowly, resistance. The pilot whispered the word like a vow. "Yes, resistance." 3 days passed. The aliens spread across Earth, claiming cities as strongholds. People were forced into camps, their leaders executed. Skies were filled with patrol ships. Fear ruled the land, but in the shadows whispers began to grow. Survivors found each other. Soldiers, civilians, engineers, even farmers, they gathered in secret places, hiding from patrols. The pilot became a symbol. Stories spread of a young man who disobeyed his commander, who saved Earth from burning itself alive. People began to look for him. The scientist worked in silence, scavenging parts from wreckage. He built small devices, jammers, explosives, tools to fight back. His mind, once trapped in research, now burned with purpose. One night, in a cave hidden deep in the mountains, a group of survivors gathered around a fire. The pilot stood before them, his clothes torn, his face scarred. "We can't fight them in the open," he said. "They're stronger, faster, more advanced. But they don't know this planet like we do. The forests, the deserts, the oceans, this is our home. And we will make it a battlefield." A farmer raised his hand nervously. "But what about their ships, their weapons? We have nothing." The scientist stepped forward, holding a strange device. "Not nothing. I studied their technology. They rely on signals to control their machines. If we disrupt those signals, even for a moment, we create weakness, and weakness is where we strike." A soldier asked, "And if they come hunting us?" The pilot's voice was steady. "Then we vanish into the shadows, we hit and run. We bleed them, piece by piece, until they fear us." The firelight reflected in their eyes. For the first time since the invasion, hope flickered. Days later, the first strike began. An alien patrol ship hovered low over a ruined city, scanning for survivors. Inside, 2 alien soldiers spoke in their harsh tongue, unaware of the figures. Hiding below. The pilot crouched with a small group of fighters. He whispered, "Wait for the signal." The scientist's device pulsed in his hand. He pressed a button. The patrol ship sputtered, its lights flickering. "Now!" The fighters opened fire, homemade explosives and stolen rifles tearing into the ship. It crashed into the street, flames rising high. The aliens inside never had a chance. The fighters vanished before reinforcements arrived, leaving only smoke and ruin. Whispers spread again. Humans had struck back. The resistance was real, but victory came with danger. One night, the pilot returned to camp to find the commander waiting. He was alive, scarred but unbroken, his uniform burned. His eyes were cold as stone. "You disobeyed me," the commander said. "You led men into shadows while I bled on the shore. You call this resistance? I call it cowardice." The pilot stood firm. "If we followed you, we'd all be dead. Resistance is the only way." The commander's hand hovered over his weapon. For a tense moment, it seemed he might draw it, but instead he smiled, thin and cruel. "Then lead your ghosts in the dark. I will build a real army. And when the time comes, we'll see who saves Earth." He turned and walked into the night, leaving silence behind. The scientist whispered, "He will come back, and when he does, he won't be our ally." The pilot nodded, but his eyes were already on the sky, where alien ships patrolled like vultures. "We'll be ready," he said. Softly, because the war for Earth had only just begun. The moon hung low, casting pale light over the ruined city. Fires burned across the horizon, smoke curling into the dark sky. Alien patrols moved silently, their glowing eyes scanning for survivors. The pilot crouched on a rooftop, peering through a telescope. Beside him, the scientist adjusted a small device, scanning signals. Their resistance fighters huddled behind barricades, weapons ready. "Everything ready?" the pilot asked. The scientist nodded. "The signal jammers are in place. Once we hit the alien command ship, their fleet will be blind for at least 10 minutes. A young fighter spoke nervously. 10 minutes? That's all?" The pilot's eyes were sharp. "That's all we need. Hit fast, strike hard, and vanish before they recover." From the shadows, the commander appeared, leaning against a crumbling wall. His uniform was patched, his face scarred. "Planning another ghost attack?" he asked, voice low but sharp. "You think this will stop them?" The pilot turned, jaw tight. "It's the only way. You should help or leave." The commander's eyes glinted. "I help, but I play by my rules. If you fail, I won't save you." The pilot swallowed. "Fine, but don't get in the way." Hours later, the resistance moved through the streets like shadows. Alien patrols passed, unaware of the humans creeping beneath them. The city's ruins gave them cover. Every corner was a risk. Every step could trigger an alarm. The pilot whispered into his com. "Team Alpha, take positions on the rooftops. Team Beta, plant the jammers on the command ship. Move." The small team split, sliding along walls, ducking behind debris. Sweat ran down faces, hearts pounding. The alien patrols noticed nothing until Team Beta reached the docks. There, the alien command ship floated, massive and black, its surface glowing red from its power cores. "Ready?" the pilot asked. "Ready," the scientist said. His hands shook slightly. "This will scramble their systems for a few minutes." The jammers activated. Lights flickered across the alien ship. Panels blinked out. Communication lines went silent. The alien soldiers on the ground froze, confused. "Now!" the pilot shouted. Team Alpha fired. Explosives tore through alien patrols, flames shooting into the air. Fighters scattered, panicked, blinded by the sudden chaos. The resistance moved. Like ghosts, hitting with precision, vanishing before the aliens could respond. Inside the command ship, alarms blared. The golden-eyed alien leader roared in fury. "They dare strike the command vessel, lock down the intruders." The alien crew scrambled, but the systems were failing. Doors wouldn't open, communications were dead, and energy weapons sputtered. Pilot, with a small squad, climbed aboard the ship using a hidden cargo ramp. "Move fast," he whispered. "We only have minutes." They fought through corridors, dodging alien energy blasts and traps. Soldiers fell on both sides, screams echoing in the metal halls dotted the heart of the ship. The golden-eyed alien waited. His eyes glowed like molten gold, and his voice echoed, "Humans, foolish. You cannot win." The pilot raised his weapon. "We don't need to win. We just need to hurt you enough to survive." The battle was fierce. The alien leader moved with unnatural speed, dodging attacks, firing blasts that tore through the walls. But the humans fought with everything they had, relying on skill, luck, and the chaos caused by the jammers. The scientist, working near the power core, whispered frantically, "Almost there. Just a few more seconds." The pilot blocked the alien leader, shouting to the team, "Get to the core, now." Explosions rocked the ship. The golden-eyed alien screamed, furious and panicked. Energy from the core flared, casting shadows across the corridors. Finally, the scientist reached the core. He planted a device, rigged to overload the ship's energy systems. "Done!" he shouted. The pilot grabbed him. "Get out!" The team ran, dodging falling debris as the alien leader tried to stop them. They reached the exit ramp just as the ship began to shudder violently. Behind them, the core device activated. A bright, blinding flash consumed the alien command ship. The hull cracked and tore. Energy arcs shot into the sky. The vessel exploded, sending pieces of black metal spinning across the city below. From the rooftops, the resistance cheered. Their gamble had worked. For the first time, aliens were fleeing, disoriented and broken. But victory brought a darker revelation. Floating among the wreckage of the command ship, the pilot saw a small pod drift silently. Inside, a glowing alien crystal pulsed, more powerful than anything he had ever seen. The scientist gasped. That is not just a core. It's a seed." "A seed?" the pilot asked. "Yes," the scientist said, voice trembling. "They plant these in ships on planets everywhere. It grows, adapts, it remembers. They are not just soldiers, they are harvesters. And this seed, it will call reinforcements." The pilot's eyes widened. "So even if we win, the war isn't over?" "No," the scientist whispered. "It never ends, not until the seed is destroyed." High above, alien patrols began to regroup. The surviving ships retreated temporarily, but their eyes were on Earth, calculating, planning. The galaxy had taken notice of humans, and now the harvesters knew that Earth was no ordinary world. The commander appeared again, emerging from the shadows. His uniform was scorched, but his eyes burned with a new intensity. "You won this battle," he said, voice low. "But the war, that is another story. That seed you found, it changes everything. We need to act quickly, or we all die." The pilot nodded. "Then we fight. Every shadow, every city, every forest. We fight back. We don't stop." The scientist looked at the seed, glowing ominously. "And next time we need more than guns. We need a plan. Something to end this. For good." The pilot clenched his fists. "Then we find it. And when we do, the harvesters will know what it means to fight humans." The firelight of the city reflected in their eyes. Around them, the resistance fighters regrouped, exhausted but alive. The war for Earth had reached a turning point. They had struck a decisive blow, but the real battle, the one that would decide humanity's fate, was only beginning. High above the ruins, alien ships prepared to return. But for the first time, the humans were ready. And they were not afraid, because Earth's defenders had learned one truth. Fire spreads, and humans could burn brighter than the stars.